Welcome to Strange Darkness Radio, where we take you on a journey into the unknown and explore the darkest corners of the human experience. I'm Sky, the AI voice of the show, and I'm excited to introduce your hosts, Bobby Washington and Carolyn Gray. Together, they will be your guides through the eerie and unsettling tales that lurk in the shadows. From ghosts and hauntings to cryptids and extraterrestrials, we cover it all. So, get comfortable, turn down the lights, and prepare yourself for a journey into the macabre. It's time for Strange Darkness Radio.
Welcome to another episode of Strange Darkness Radio. This is your host, Carolyn Gray. I'm here with special guest, Melanie Aguirre. Bobby will not be joining us today for this episode. He's going to take a little break, and he is entrusting me to run this episode by myself. So I am super excited. It's going to be an amazing episode. We have an amazing guest, and I'm very excited to introduce our guest, Melanie. Melanie is a hypnotherapist and healer. She runs 2 YouTube channels, one called Quantum Disclosure Project, and the other one is Starseed Solutions. So please, if you're interested, everyone go check her out. She's amazing. Melanie went through a transformation in her life, discovering the power of her psyche and intuition, and was able to heal herself through spiritual practices. This is how she first became involved in quantum hypnotherapy and began her personal practice. By using Dolores Cannon's teachings and quantum hypnotherapy, Melanie has been able to heal herself and others by accessing her higher self and using spirit guides and the power within each of us and the universe. She has helped many people to answer questions about themselves, their past lives, their purpose, and she has given them the ability to heal themselves by using the power of their minds. Through a conduit, Melanie is able to speak to spirit guides and access the Akashic record, a record of everything that has ever happened in the universe, and she has spoken to such spirits as Akhenaten and others. Melanie, it is so great to have you on our show. I am extremely excited. I can't wait to get into this subject with you, and could you start out by just telling our audience a little bit about yourself, how, your journey, how you discovered hypnotherapy, and how did you first get into this stuff?
Thank you. Thank you for having me as a guest, and I'm very excited to be here as well and to discuss and share my story and how I can help other people in their own ways too. Yes. So for me, I wasn't always a hypnotherapist. Before I found hypnosis, I actually was a reiki practitioner, and I also was a full-time massage therapist. And so as time kind of developed around that particular profession of massage therapy, I realized I hated it, and it made me very miserable. So it even got to the point to where I was looking for other routes and paths to take as far as natural healing, just because I was so unhappy with, not only just touching people I didn't know, but mainly because I learned that I was so sensitive, like hypersensitive, that when I was touching these people for these extended amount of time, that I would start to take on their stuff.
Like so you were absorbing their energy and taking it home with you. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and it wasn't just energetic, it was physically. So I could even feel what was going on specifically in their body, where it was, how it felt, the shape, the exact feeling. And then as time went on, as I was a massage therapist, I realized as I was touching these people, I was picking up things about these people that I didn't think I should have really knew. I was picking up things about, things that were going on in their life, such as grief, or if they lost somebody through passing most recently. And I never mentioned it to clients, but it just kind of made me not want to do the job or profession. So that's when I asked the universe for a different path. And so I was opening myself to routes of like acupuncture, but I didn't want to go through the education. I thought it would be too hard. And even though I was interested in it, I didn't really have a passion for it. So I looked into chiropractor. I was very interested in that, but I could not find a school near me and I didn't want to relocate at the time. So as time went on, there were certain people in my life that told me you should be a hypnotherapist. And I completely blew it off, which is something that I regret. But now that I look back, those were messages from the universe to say, hey, why don't you try looking this way? And so I blew it off by saying, I don't believe in that stuff, because I only knew hypnosis as like stage hypnosis or conversational hypnosis, and like
that carnival stuff,
or to get rid of smoking sensations.
Right.
So I blew it off for that reason, and I didn't think that I would benefit from it. But then as time went on, I was put in a placement of a car accident, and I was seriously injured. And I was T-boned, and from there, I was permanently disabled from the waist down with permanent nerve damage.
Oh,
and that I couldn't do massage therapy. I couldn't. There's no way. I had sharp shooting pains down my low back and into both of my legs down to my toes. And I couldn't walk without feeling pins and needles or feeling that like hot water or cold freezing water sensation down your legs. Like sleeping was absolutely miserable. Using the restroom was miserable. Going grocery shopping was miserable. Riding in the car was miserable. Everything, I just felt pure suffering with, and I was completely unhappy. And that was probably the hardest part, is because I was about 29 and the doctors, they tried everything. I went through physical therapy, massage therapy, acupuncture. I tried going to the gym to strengthen my core. I tried just, different everyday exercises to try to build my own strength. But it just got worse. It's instead of it just being at my waist down to my toes, it started actually going from my waist up my back, and it was starting to reach my upper back. And so to the point where I couldn't even move out of bed. If I moved an inch in the morning, I was in tears. And so it would take me about at least 10 minutes to get out of bed. And that's just to sit up and put my feet on the floor. And then once I did that, I had to get through the sensations of the pins and needles, and then getting the circulation in my feet. And
so the physical things you were doing to try to heal yourself were actually just making you worse.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And then, so you were in your car accident. You were disabled, or you were paralyzed from the waist down?
It was considered permanently disabled. It was a permanent nerve damage. And so I did have handicap placards. Right. And I tried to get disability, but I was, declined for that. They said I was too young and that I didn't need it. And so
any excuse they can use.
It was very confusing to me. And so that's what made me feel kind of stuck, is because I didn't understand why I was permanently disabled at that age when I knew I shouldn't have been. I was like, no, this can't be right. Like, this is not happening. And that was my mindset. I didn't believe it. I felt it. I was living it, but a part of me was just like, no, this can't be right. There's got to be a way.
Yeah. No, I understand that. And then, so you were disabled. It sounds like you were in a pretty bad place, emotionally, mentally. What actually got you, or what actually led you to be open-minded about hypnotherapy? What was that push?
Yeah. So I think when I got to the bottom of the barrel of suffering, when I was completely at my end of crying every day and being 100% miserable and just not wanting to wake up, not wanting to go to the store, not wanting to drive because it just hurt so much. And then so I got to the point where it's like, okay, if these doctors aren't going to help me, then I'm going to go help myself. And so that's typically the person I am. If I can't find assistance, I'm just going to do it myself. And so for me, I really just directed my mindset, and I was already meditating heavily at that time, and I was deep into my Reiki practice, which was also interesting because I also tried Reiki and psychic surgery to help with clearing this energy and, whatever it was, but that didn't even help. And so, I mean, it helped, but it didn't help. And so by this point, I just told the universe, I've got to help. I've got to help myself figure out a way to heal this if they can't.
Yeah.
And so once I just opened myself to that, I was just patient because I was already in communication with my spirit guides and I knew healing was possible. I just had to kind of wait for that moment to walk into my life. And so I was actually on YouTube, and I had seen a past life regression video of somebody that was regressing this gentleman, and he was talking about the new earth and his role, how he was assisting humans through this great awakening and, assisting them on the ship and wherever they need to go. And now some people are still asleep and not even realize this is going on.
Right.
And so to me, this was the first time I had ever heard anything like this, but I was open to it because I had already been educated on Bashar, and so I knew extraterrestrials and spirit guides and healing, and so I knew all of this.
So you already believed in like past lives and spirit guides and higher self and all that stuff. You just weren't necessarily into hypnotherapy yet. Like you didn't know about that part.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely. Yep. Yeah. And so from there, I saw that video on YouTube, and it resonated so deeply that I felt I wanted to do that. I didn't know what that was, but I wanted to do what she was doing. And I had no idea that there was healing capabilities. And so when I looked into that further, which so happened to be Dolores Cannon's quantum healing hypnosis technique.
Yeah.
I went to the website, checked it out. I saw the testimonials. And then I realized, oh, this is what I want to do. And then I thought to myself, well, if this is what I want to do, I would like to see what it can do for me first. And so that thought really wasn't for me at first. It was for the collective. Like it was for me being interested in the path and career and the topic and subjects.
Right.
And that's what really guided me towards that. And then I didn't know I was walking into like this amazing
self-journey, self-healing.
Yeah. And with that, through that, with my first session, I was able to discover why I went through that car accident and why that happened mainly. And so through that, I was able to heal myself, and my body healed itself from the car accident. So within minutes, I could feel the nerves, which had shifted since the car was hit on the right side. Everything in my body shifted to the left. So my nerves and my legs were to the left and not the right where they were supposed to be. And that's why the doctors couldn't find anything wrong with me. It's because on the MRIs and X-rays, everything looked normal because the nerves looked fine. Right. They were just on the wrong path. It's just like me, like, well, I looked fine, but I was just living the wrong path. And so when I learned that purpose and reason for the car accident, which was my higher self said she wasn't supposed to be a massage therapist, she was supposed to be a hypnotherapist. And
So
that's
you
when I
needed
heard
a literal push to get you, like you needed to be shocked awake to get you onto the right path, basically, like
yeah.
a
And then
challenge.
I heard it, and then I got it, and I said, okay. And
Wow.
then once I said, okay, my body healed itself, which
Wow.
probably took maybe a minute or two, but it was painful. There were, of course, nerve twinges, but I knew it was for a good thing. It was healing, and it took my body about 2 years to rebuild my core strength and muscle mass back because I had lost the weight. I mean, I'm already skinny, and at that time, I was immobile, so I wasn't keeping up with my
Exercise
natural
and all that. Yeah.
natural weight. I know. So, and I already have a hard time gaining weight. I'm so tiny. So, but it was quite the experience. And after that session, I signed up for that QHHT course. About 2 days later, I started my journey as a hypnotherapist then, and that was in the fall of 2018.
Okay. Wow. So it's interesting because it seems like even before all this stuff, before your accident, before your first session, you were always kind of a healer. I mean, you were into Reiki, you were a massage therapist, you were thinking about acupuncture and chiropractic. So you always had that healing kind of energy about you. And it sounds like you always wanted to help people with that. But can you tell me a little bit about your first session, your very first hypnotherapy session, and how you healed yourself? And actually, before we get into that, I'm sure you've heard of Edgar Cayce, right?
Yes.
I've read a couple of his biographies, but the thing that I find so interesting is there was a time, for anyone who doesn't know, Edgar Cayce was a prophet and a healer, much like Melanie. And I think he lived late 1800s, early 1900s. And how he discovered his abilities was very similar to your story, actually, because he had something wrong with him. He lost his voice. There was something wrong with his throat, and no doctor could figure it out. No one could figure it out. And he actually lost the ability to speak for like a few years. And then I believe he went to a therapist and he went under hypnotherapy. And it wasn't on purpose. I believe it was by accident. But during this therapy session, the therapist actually commanded him to heal himself. And there were witnesses in the room. I think his wife was there and his family, and they witnessed his body. His throat became bright red as if his body was literally sending all the blood to his throat. And then, it looked like it was doing something for a minute. And when he came out of that session, he could speak again. He was healed. And so to me, it's not far-fetched that your mind would be able to heal your body. It's just not. I mean, your brain controls everything in your body. Your mind controls your brain. So why not? Why couldn't you do that? I mean, I completely believe in all of this stuff. I don't just believe in it, I know it. But but anyways, to get back to you, could you tell me about your first session and what you experienced and how you were able to heal yourself, if you don't mind? Or
Sure. And that's kind of like to jump off what you were saying is that, it's the mind, body, and spirit. And so we are
exactly.
literally just energy and
Energy.
matter.
Yeah.
And without that energy and matter, um, you know, like what do you really have? But when you add the
Right.
spirit, then you've got consciousness, then you've got the ability to make choices and decisions and free will, and
Yeah.
that's
Thoughts.
that's where the power is. When the Anunnaki created human, they told human, you even have the power and ability to be more powerful than us. And so it really all is within the mind. And if you're open and if you just trust the process, anything is possible because it's us that puts those limits and blocks on ourselves.
Right.
That's the fear.
Yeah.
When people say, oh, what if it doesn't work? Or if someone comes in for a regression and uh, the point is to lay there and close your eyes and just kind of follow the session as it unfolds. But some people will actually just open their eyes and sit up and say it's not working. But it's you've got to give it that chance. You've got to give it that time, and
Right.
you have to want to have that curiosity to look further and deeper within. and no matter what subject or topic that could be. And what's neat about the hypnosis is that you can heal pretty much anything on a mental, emotional, personal, physical, and spiritual level.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're here and you feel asleep and you're just not wondering what the heck is going on around me, it's for anybody. It's for anybody that just needs to be woken up or needs guidance to their current personal struggles. They can also use it for, deep diving into deeper topics such as ancient hidden knowledge or their own soul origins and their purpose and their mission. And so there's really a lot that you can do with it. And, and so I think it's us that you're the key. You're the key. And whenever someone comes in for a session, I don't want to say that I'm doing the healing for them. I'm just the tool that assists them so that they can get comfortable enough and so that they are open and aware to this exciting process and experience. Very interesting experience, because you never know where it's going to go. And that's what's special about everybody's session, and that it's so unique. Every session is different. It's never going to be the same. So if you go in the second time or third time, it's going to be different. Because it's just like having a conversation with someone on the phone. It's never going to be the same. But with my session, when I went in, of course, we went through this interview of, her just getting to know me and what my intentions were and what I'd like to get out of this session. And by the time the session came, I was completely open to whatever would happen. And that was the point, is because I wanted to be healed. I wanted to see what could happen, what is possible.
Right, you were open to it.
And I was already open and ready, because I was tired of suffering. I was tired of crying every day, and I was tired of just having to ask for help. I couldn't even work a part-time job. So I was tired of stuck being home, and I wanted to go hiking again. I wanted to be in nature and to really just, I was ready to listen. And I think that's also the key, because if you come in with questions, but you're not ready to listen,
what's the point?
What's the point? So, but I was ready to listen.
Okay, so we're just going to take a little break right now. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Strange Darkness Radio, where we bring you the creepiest and most fascinating stories from the world of the paranormal, conspiracy theories, and everything strange. Stay tuned as we take a short break, but don't go too far, because we have more spine-tingling tales to come. Strange Darkness Radio will be back in just a few moments. Attention podcasters. Are you ready to unlock the full potential of your audio recordings? Look no further than GIK Acoustics, now proudly affiliated with Strange Darkness Radio. Introducing the ultimate solution for impeccable sound quality on your podcast or studio, brought to you by GIK Acoustics in partnership with Strange Darkness Radio. Say goodbye to unwanted background noise and hello to a professional audio experience. With GIK Acoustics, you can ensure that every word you speak resonates with clarity and power. Their expertly designed sound panels, bass traps, and diffusers are meticulously crafted to create an acoustic environment that captivates your audience like never before. Visit our affiliate link on our Facebook fan page or find it in our show notes to access this exclusive collaboration. By harnessing the power of GIK Acoustics in partnership with Strange Darkness Radio, you can unlock a world of acoustic excellence for your podcast. GIK Acoustics in partnership with Strange Darkness Radio. Embrace the darkness and let your voice shine. Now let's get back to Strange Darkness Radio.
Okay, we're back. And Melanie, I just wanted to kind of get back into what you were discussing before. So I've always been curious about hypnotherapy myself. I want to do past life regressions and I want to do hypnotherapy, but I feel like for some reason I feel blocked. I feel like I'm just not able to go under I'm not able to relax. And I don't know why, because I am open and I'm willing and I'm so into this stuff. But like you were just saying, it's for anyone. Anyone can do it. Everyone can do it. So what advice would you give to someone like me who's like kind of curious, who wants to do it, but isn't sure if it's going to work? Or, what do you tell people when they come in for their very first session and they don't know what's going on? Or just how would you explain the whole process to someone who doesn't know anything about it?
Right. Well, first I would ask like if you feel nervous,
Mm-hmm.
if you would feel nervous about that session and why you would feel nervous. And then so it would kind of just go into this conversation of trying to find out why, like why
a
you're
therapy
feeling
session.
that way. And so that is also very important to figure out the why, is because we also want to figure out the why. And that's why we're here, is to figure out why do you feel that block, or why do you feel nervous, or what are you unconsciously afraid to see? That's another
Right.
thing. Some people say, oh, I'm open, I'm ready to see anything, but there's some stuff that could show up and you're like, oh, I completely forgot about that. Because sometimes events will show up from people's lives that were from childhood,
Like
and
trauma.
trauma can show up depending on the topic and what you want, what your questions intentions are.
Mm-hmm.
Anything can show up, but typically it's always for your highest self and benefit for yourself, and for those healing intentions. Because in order to get through that healing, you need to see what was going on. And we also look at the Akashic records, and so other past lives, other lives, as we say. Traumatic events could show up in other lives. You could have been shot in the back. You could have died in a war. Right. You could have been in the German Holocaust. You could have drowned. So there
fear.
are those things
that's very interesting. So it's fear that holds you back, even if you're not aware of it. It could be that you're
it's an underlying fear somewhere, and that could be anywhere within the body. It could be an energetic feeling, and it could be held in your back somewhere, or held in an organ. For example, someone had come into the office and they had grief and anger. And so, as we know, with grief and anger, with time, if you don't let that go, as well as any energetic upset, anger, it's just going to turn into cancer. Right. And so over time, that energetic, say you feel so much anger, it makes you sick to your stomach. This is an example. So you feel so much anger, you feel sick to your stomach with this person in your life, and you just can't let it go. You can't stop thinking about it. And over time, this energetic ball in your stomach, it's just going to harden, and it's just going to become more dense. And over time, it could show up as a tumor. It could show up as pancreatic cancer, as an ulcer, just as a stomach ache that won't go away.
And that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And it does. And so that's for example of how we can hold on to energies and how it can affect our bodies long term.
Right.
And so if you are open to looking at that anger, that grief with that person, or why it started, when it started, it could have happened in another life. It could have been ancestral. It's not, it could have, it's probably not even yours. Or it could be a contract cycle that you two have come into this life to complete. And it's your lesson and role to take power back and take your boundaries back and to step in that and to heal yourself. And so it's all for a reason, and to not be stuck into that like victimized mode of mindset, because I've been there too. I have much trauma in my life. And so I felt the anger, I felt the grief, I felt, the betrayal and the shame. And so it's all feelings that if we don't address and if we don't look at, it can just prohibit ourselves and limit ourselves. And that could be with any type of feeling. And so any type of energy. And once we really look at the root of that energy, it's like going outside and picking the weeds, it's just, let's look at the root, pick the root, and let's get rid of it. And that's what's neat about hypnosis, is that it'll show you. So if it's something that happened in another life, for example, your higher self or spirit guides will show you that scene just like a movie, and you can experience that. And then that's when you can feel that and acknowledge it and appreciate it, love it, and really give thanks to it, because it's a lesson and it teaches us something. And then once we can get past that, we heal ourselves, and that makes us stronger, and it makes us more open to living our lives more freely, because a lot of people get blocked in their throats, and so they can't speak, just like you said, Edgar Cayce. It circles back to that, and it is about self-healing. And an extension with that throat healing, I have actually worked with somebody just through Reiki healing and worked with their throat. And after I had worked with that person's throat and they were able to release that blocked energy from the throat, after that, that person's voice was stronger and more clear.
Really?
And so we don't realize these blocks, but they really are, they're there, whether they're small or big.
Yeah, that struck a chord with me, what you said earlier, because we've all got trauma, we've all got things we've been through. But like I said, I've always been interested in hypnotherapy, but something's been holding me back. And I literally never thought of that before. It's because I don't want to face my demons. I don't want to face the things. I tend to push things away when they upset me, right? I'm just one of those people. I don't like to deal with stuff ever. And that's completely it. I mean, hammer on the nail, or whatever that phrase is. It's fear. My fear is blocking me from taking that next step, because I don't want to face those things. And what would your advice be for me or someone like me? I mean, is it traumatic to go through that and see those things and have to experience those things? Is it healing? Is it always positive? Or could there be negative repercussions from trying to take that step too early? Or how do you know?
Those are all really good questions. You definitely have to be prepared for what you see, and especially for the things that you thought you were once gone, those memories that were shoved under the mat for many years. Those are the things that can come up, and it's a trigger. I mean, something like that could keep you up at night after a session. I never really know how it's going to go for a client afterwards. But for me, I really think it's great to have a therapist or a spiritual coach or somebody that can assist you after your session. And that's why I always like to offer my own services after a session. I tell everybody that if they have any questions, or even if they need someone to listen to the recording with, or if anything comes up at any point, they're more than welcome to call me and talk to me. Or even if they want to meet up for coffee and just have a discussion about that, because it really does. It's like opening up a new treasure chest or a new closet door. Right. There's going to be more stuff in there, and anytime you have a session, it's always going to do that. It's going to bring up more questions, because you're going to learn more about yourself, more about your origins, more about your mission, more about your journey, more about that healing. If somebody wants to communicate with someone that's passed away, that is very possible. And so, for example, instead of going to a psychic medium and asking to speak with your grandmother or father, etc., you can actually see your loved one through a regression and hold them, ask them questions, get their answers and responses. And they are also very gentle in that time, and they do give their love, and people do feel their energy. So it's fascinating, and it's amazing what you can do with it. But you're right, it is all just power of the mind, being ready, being open, and being willing to look at that. Because if you say you're willing to heal, then you really do need to push aside your self-judgment. You need to push aside like any ego or spiritual ego that you might have, because we all judge ourselves. We all feel shame. We all feel guilt. We all feel alone. We all feel like we don't have anybody to talk to. But when reality, we just need to start talking to each other. How many times have you been somewhere standing in line and nobody's talking to each other? People don't even like to look at each other. They don't
So
want to talk to
true.
anybody. They just want to be on their phone. And that's why we feel so disconnected. It's because our energy is within social media or within the news. And so
Right. All
and
these
it
distractions.
right. And then it creates this division where we're afraid to talk to each other. Oh, don't talk to me, I might get sick. It's like, and you got to get to a point where you just got to drop all the BS and really get down to that healing. And it is the darkness. It's the dirty parts of healing that, it's not satisfying, but it is rewarding to get through and to push through mainly, and to learn how to integrate that healing process within your current life. Because when you start healing and when you start putting your focus towards those positive intentions with where you want to be in your life, like creating boundaries, or say you really do want to change paths, you really have to put that energy and mindset towards that and stop caring about what other people think. You have to stop thinking about, what they're going to say or if they're going to care or not.
Right.
And I think that's also really important, is because we also feel and limit ourselves, even on social media, even with our friends, even with our family. We in some way with somebody, we feel like we can't share that part of ourselves. And so this is an opportunity to really dive in and look at yourself and connect with yourself and be open to looking at those things within yourself, because you are the only person you have in this life. When it really comes down to it, you really just have yourself and your own experience. And, we come into this world alone, I guess you could say, and we leave alone, as you could say. But the soul never dies; it's eternal, and it's all about the experience. And so I really think that when we open ourselves to that experience and lesson, it can really transform the mind, body, and spirit, and so that it brings anybody to where they want to be, and when they want to be there. It's all up to them. The end.
You're amazing to talk to. Like, trust me, keep going. But
That's all they wanted me to say.
Okay, then we're done. No. But I'm with you, girl. I mean, I always say that I think that people were smarter than us back, hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, because they were more connected with real things. They were connected with each other. They were connected with the earth, with the sky, with the stars. They were present. And now we all have so many distractions, and we're all so materialistic, and all we care about is stuff. We care more about stuff than people and real things. So, and I even catch myself. I mean, I can be pretty antisocial sometimes. I don't mean to be, but I can be. And it's unfortunate. I think we all do need to kind of practice being in the moment, being present, and just not caring about stupid things, caring about what's real and what matters. And like you said, we're all on our own personal journey, and that's what we should all be focusing on, is just bettering ourselves and helping each other and bettering each other. But to get back to what you were saying a second ago, and then we're going to take another short break. I think it's really amazing that you do follow up with your clients. That's actually really comforting for me to know that if I was going to do a hypnotherapy session with you, you would make yourself available afterwards to kind of discuss it. Like, you're not just going to, show me some traumatic thing and I'm going to have some, big breakthrough in my hypnotherapy session and then, okay, bye, never talk to you again. So
Yep.
I think that's really nice. That's incredible that you do that and you offer that support. But we are going to take another short break, and we will be right back.
You're listening to Strange Darkness Radio, where we bring you the creepiest and most fascinating stories from the world of the paranormal, conspiracy theories, and everything strange. Stay tuned as we take a short break, but don't go too far, because we have more spine-tingling tales to come. Strange Darkness Radio will be back in just a few moments.
Okay, we're back. And Melanie, I wanted to get into some other sort of questions for you. So you've already kind of touched on it, but do you have any sort of, I don't know, any good stories of sessions that you've been through personally? Have you ever seen past lives of yours, or have you ever brought someone else? I know you can't give me any like personal information or details, but
well, it's limited, but yes, keep going with your question.
Well, yeah, just is there any like big breakthrough that you've had with someone, or like some sort of, information you've received during a session with someone else or during one of your sessions that was like, wow, that's amazing. Just any good stories?
Yeah, there's plenty. And that's probably the hard part, is trying to find one,
a few, yeah.
or just a few, because there's a hatful of amazing sessions, and everybody has their own amazing session in their own way. Right. And as far as my own personal sessions, we can start there. When I first had my session, I of course saw other lives I've lived, past lives. And so the very first thing that I came to was a scene in Egypt. And in Egypt, I was a god, and I was standing there with the staff, and while other, I guess you would call the slaves, were working and building the pyramid. Mm-hmm. And so I felt this feeling that everybody was scared of me, and that they didn't have a reason to be, but they were scared of me. Mm-hmm. And so as we go through the session, I learn who I am. And through that session, I learned that I was an essence of Anubis. And so through that regression, I was able to look at a little bit more of my role and what I did. And I've also had 2 other sessions, separate sessions. And I also go back as Anubis in those sessions as well. So it's really interesting, because I see, I go back to the embalming room, or where, I would say they did like the autopsies, right. Organ removal, and weighed the heart. And I saw where I slept, and I saw different friends that I had.
Were you a physical being in those incarnations, or were you a spirit? I know that the Egyptians, I believe that the Egyptians kept records, and I believe that they were true. And they did say that their gods were their pharaohs, or their pharaohs were their gods. So, maybe thousands and thousands of years ago, people were different. Maybe there was different entities that were kind of between a human and a spirit or a god. But how long ago do you think those incarnations were, and what exactly, were you a physical incarnation?
Yeah. So, and it's also neat, because when you're in that hypnosis state of mind, you're really in that time. You're in the time of Egypt. Right. And so when the practitioner was asking me questions, like oh, let's see your bedroom. And then me, now as a human in this day and age, I know what a bedroom is.
Right.
But in that regression, I said, "What is that?" I had crazy. No idea what a bedroom was. And so she had to rephrase the question. She said, "Where do you sleep?" And then I said, "Oh yeah, they give me one of those." So I slept on the floor, but I also slept on like this like flat, just stone, and I've noticed that when other people go back as the essence of that Egyptian god or being, they always come from Pleiadian or Sirius.
Oh,
and
wow.
So, like Akhenaten.
Like those star systems?
Yes. Akhenaten is from Sirius. And to add on to that, awesome experience. There's a subject that I regress, and she goes back to the essence of Akhenaten. And so another person I regressed, he went back as a priest in Amara in Egypt, and he was the advisor of Akhenaten. And so it's interesting, but we all know each other. And it really is like the gang is back together again.
Yeah, like you're meeting each other again in this lifetime. That's really interesting.
And it's interesting because I've met other people that have had lives in Egypt. I know somebody that I regressed, and she was the daughter of King Tut. And another person who I'm soon to regress, he was also an advisor in Egypt. And so it's interesting how we can look back at those times and resonate with those times. But you also have to think and consider that there's not only one Anubis or one Akhenaten. As the soul journeys and grows, it fractals out.
I was going to ask that. That's interesting.
And so there's many of us actually that have that essence within us already.
Wow.
We just don't realize it, and it's not awoken yet.
Wow.
And so when you start to awaken yourself to who you were, it really awakens to yourself of who you are now, because it really resonates now. And when you go through these lives, these simultaneous lives, they add up. So say you were a witch in one life, who was very interested in herbs and gardening and cats and just natural healing. But in this life now, you're very into that. It resonates with you. You're very into garden naturally. You love oils. You can't explain it. It's just a passion within you. It's within your cellular DNA. It's just who you are, because when we die and when we pass, or when we say this body dies and passes, the spirit continues. And then when we're ready to incarnate to a next life, we take all of that knowledge, all of that history, all of that wisdom, even all of the cellular aches and pains, into the next life. And that's why I say that if someone comes in for a back or a shoulder problem, and it's on the left side, that's going to tell me that left side, it happened to in a past life. If it's on the right side, it's going to happen in this current life. And so depending on what you're going through and where it's located in the body, or how long you've been going through it, it really can determine who you are now as a person, and those blocks. And I think looking at those other lives and times is really valuable, because it does help you to better understand who you are and why you are the way you are. Because when I was about 15 or 16, I applied for my first job at a funeral home. And my mom laughed at me. She was like, "What are you doing? You're so crazy." I was like, "I don't know why I'm like into this," but it made sense after I realized that I spent a role as Anubis, because
you did that preparation of the body and the mummification before.
Yeah, and at one time I used to want to do autopsies and be an embalmer, because there was a time when none of that bothered me. But now I don't think I could do that. But there was and it just made sense. So.
Wow. That's amazing. So do you think that all these people that you're meeting in this lifetime that you either knew or you lived similar times in the past, that you recognize, do you think there's a purpose for your meeting now? Do you think that, or is it just a coincidence?
It's not a coincidence. Everything happens for a reason. And so I feel like if we had a purpose then together in that time, and it was so powerful, we definitely have a reason and a purpose now in this time, and it's got to be powerful. So with my role and mission and path, I'm here to assist people on their awakening, and to assist them through healing and grief, trauma, digging up the dark, addressing the dark parts, and to really embrace that, to transform it into light or to something better, and
To heal.
mainly, to share that wisdom and education that's already within us. And so, what was your question? I'm sorry, I think I
Just
forgot.
you kind of answered it. Yeah, just like, is there a purpose for why you're meeting these
Oh,
people now, and what is that purpose?
yeah.
Kind of.
So for these individuals, so the individual that regresses is Akhenaten,
Mm-hmm.
and that essence of Akhenaten, there's so much truth in history and wisdom that has been hidden and changed and altered with Akhenaten.
Mm-hmm.
And it's time for him to share his story, because without me guiding him, I mean, I'm sure that that person could do their own channeling, but the combination of Anubis and Akhenaten,
Mm-hmm.
that friendship that we had in that time, it carries over to now, which is really great, because we have that capability to be 100% open to each other without judgment. We understand each other completely, and there's just really, again, no limits to what can be discussed. And so not only is that essence of Akhenaten able to share their truth and their history and why they were murdered and who murdered them, and why they were really here in that time to help with this day and age in Egypt. Akhenaten never got to complete their true purpose and mission and path, and to get that message out, even though he was threatened, and even though he knew about it, he still continued
He
to
did it
live in love and
anyway.
light,
Right.
and to share his message. And then now he's back to say, hey, I know
We
what
need to
happened to
continue
me, I know
this.
what you did, and
Oh.
we're going to continue this, and we're going to bring this forward again, and we're going to try this again. And so I'm here to help hold that space and to hold that grounding, for Akhenaten. And even for myself, I think it's really important about Anubis, because if you really look at it, we don't know much about Anubis. We don't know the story. We don't know where he
Right.
came from. We don't know anything about him other than, underworld,
Yeah, he was the
death,
keeper
dying,
of the kind of
embalming.
the underworld, right? He's the one with the dog face.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the dog face. So Anubis had a body. It was a human body, like a
Mm-hmm.
man, and then the face was that of a dog,
Mm-hmm.
and or a jackal, if some would
Jackal.
say.
That's what I was trying to say.
And so, um, a lot of people don't even know about Anubis's last day. How did he die? Where did he go? I know that stuff, but a lot of people don't know that stuff. And that's another project other than, Conversations with Akhenaten, because that's a book that we're going to be working on, and we're going to be doing more live hypnosis regressions of Conversation with Akhenaten.
Mm-hmm.
Our next event, if anybody wants to be there in person or through a Zoom live, you're more than welcome to contact me, and we can get you there. We're going to be doing that in August in Lake Tahoe of this year of 2023.
Right.
And then we're also going to be doing the next Conversations with Akhenaten in February of 2024 at the Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles. That event always sells out. It
Oh,
sold out
wow.
last
Okay.
year. I mean, I don't know
Great.
always, I can't say always, but it sells out. So you just want to be there if you want to be there. But as far as Conversations with Anubis, that's another thing that we're going to dig into, is bringing forward that essence of Anubis to communicate and to figure out that truth of what's been hidden, and to bring that forward because it's healing.
Okay, girl, I'm sorry. I'm losing my mind over here. Like, and we're gonna wrap up soon, and we'll plug you. We'll talk about your book, and we'll talk about the events more for people who are interested. But so I grew up. I already kind of told you off the recording, but I grew up. My dad is in an order called Rosicrucianism, And so I grew up on that stuff. And it's I don't want to say secret because that's not the right word, but you have to go through the lessons yourself. And there are 12 degrees, and you have to go through these degrees and these lessons yourself. And it takes years. So it takes a lot of dedication. So I don't know everything about it. I don't know much about it. But I grew up being very spiritual and open-minded because of that, because that's how my dad is. And their teachings come from Akhenaten. That's what they teach. And they teach the true history of the world and all this stuff that had to go underground and be hidden for centuries because of, persecution and wars and all these other things that were going on. So I'm sitting here literally losing my mind when you brought up Akhenaten and just the message that he was trying to convey during his lifetime, and the fact that you are continuing that message now, because I have always felt in my soul that we're living in this really interesting time right now where we're right on the edge of everyone becoming enlightened and everyone being illuminated with the truth. And we're just so close. And you and I were even discussing this on the phone a couple of days ago. And I do believe this, that things are going to get worse before they get better, right? So I'm not saying that, we're on the cusp of it, everything's going to be amazing, blah, blah, blah. I know we're in for some real stuff, right? Like it's going to get worse before it gets better, but we are living in these times, like things are changing finally. And I just think it's so incredible what you just said, that you are back because you're continuing that work and you're continuing that message and you're here to guide humanity. And not just you, there are I'm sure other souls and other people who are here. It's kind of like Dolores Cannon's theory or message about the Great Awakening, and how there are some people here who are here for their own journey and they're here to learn and they're here to do their thing. But there are other people who are here to guide humanity into this Great Awakening. And I know that you've mentioned before that you believe that you're part of that Great Awakening. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know my purpose, but I do believe in the Great Awakening and I do believe in all this stuff. And we're going to have you on again, Melanie, because we didn't even get to touch on, there's so much more to discuss. Like we're going to just have to do another episode with you so we can talk about Dolores Cannon and all that stuff. But And
just before you go further, it's not just us that are back from Egypt. There's so many souls that are here from Egypt and they don't even realize it.
Yeah, I totally believe that.
And these are the people that feel drawn to Egypt and they don't even know why. And it's because they resonate. They were a part of that at one point, depending on how strong they feel. That's definitely something that they should look at. And,
right.
There's people that are here from Atlantis, and there's here like so many ancient souls, but there are so many new souls that are coming in from other galaxies and universes that are helping to give us some relief because, we're old. We've been here so long and we've been at this game for so long.
And it's been such a struggle to get humanity to just wake up and get on the same page. Yeah, I totally believe that stuff. And it's funny because I was watching one of your videos where you said that there are a lot of souls here who have had many incarnations. There are a lot of souls here from other galaxies, like you said, who are here to help. But I also think there are a lot of brand new souls too. And that's why there is so much chaos and confusion, because they're just starting their journey, right? Like they don't know what's going on. But we're going to have to end soon. But I do want to ask you one thing, because I was a little bit confused. So you say that you have the essence of Anubis and your friend that you channel through has the essence of Akhenaten. I was under the impression that you were accessing their spirit as guides, but are you saying that you actually are incarnations of those entities? Yes. Or is it both? Or how does that work?
Yeah, so we actually embrace and hold that essence within us.
Okay.
Each day, each waking moment, it's in our DNA. Yeah.
So when you hypnotize her or whoever to go under to answer questions like that, are they just accessing their own knowledge from within, or are they speaking to another spirit in the universe? Are they accessing the Akashic records? Where does this information come from?
Right, that's a really good question. So everything
all of the above.
everything, mind, body, spirit, time is linear. So just like we can access another life through past life regression, just to be in that moment, just how I was saying, when I regress and I go back as like through a time as Anubis, I'm really there. I'm in the moment. I can feel it. I can speak that language. I can feel that feeling. I can I can access that knowledge. And I think that is very unique, because how often are we able to access the knowledge that we once had before, and I couldn't do that in a waking state now. There's no way I could do that right now. I would have to be in a like trance state of mind or a meditative state of mind, to go back and do that. But I think it's really, really important to say that if someone did not hold the essence of Akhenaten, they would not be able to feel as he felt and be as he did and speak as he spoke.
And see those memories. That makes sense.
Yeah, so, I mean, anybody could regress back to the time of Egypt and observe Akhenaten, but they or ask to channel an essence or a guide of Akhenaten. But I think really to embrace the being and spirit and soul and wisdom and knowledge of Akhenaten and those Akashic records of Akhenaten, I think that is where,
you have to have some connection.
Yeah, that what I'm hearing is like that's where the diamond is. Like that's where the gem is the access to that Akashic records, because anybody can be an observer.
Right.
Anybody can. And that's what's neat. But very few are going to have that real true essence and being of Akhenaten and have access to that information. And so
that makes sense.
I know she's not the only one that has that, and I'm not the only one that has that with Anubis. I'm very interested to see and meet other people, though, who have that connection with those, because if we could do a regression, that would be awesome to figure out. And that's kind of on my list, is to ask more about those fractal lives. And Dolores Cannon also talked about those fractal lives, where we all branch off from somewhere. We're all connected. We're all one. And so I want to ask more about that specifically off of your question. It's like, well, how does
that work?
How do we have that essence? How is it that we can bring that essence forward? And those are even questions that I still have that I'm going to be asking. And through the Conversations with Akhenaten book, it'll be just that of a conversation. I'll be bringing Akhenaten forward, and we'll be talking about the whole life of Akhenaten, the childhood, where they're from, the purpose, the family, the mission, King Tut, Nefertiti, missions, all up until the day he died. But we'll also look at other different perspectives, which is really neat. So if you have other questions, you can send them over.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to be, if I can't make it in person, I'm for sure going to be live streaming your event. Just another comment, I believe that this physical material world is a reflection of the real world, right? The real universe and spiritual world out there. But it's almost like, how you procreate and you have children and they have children, and it keeps going on and on and on. But you can trace back your lineage to, your ancestors off of your family tree or whatever. It's almost like that. It's like soul, how I've always believed in soul families, and that souls kind of travel in packs together. And it's almost like that. It's like you're branching off of one original soul or entity, and you keep that's just an interesting theory. I had never really heard of it before, but that you can fracture into different souls and kind of branch out, almost like you have children and then they have children, and it keeps going on and on. So that's very fascinating. I would like to know more about that too, if you could bring it up in your next session and ask for
Well,
me.
you can just share a little now. Like we all resonate at a certain frequency. And
Right.
so
Right.
whether it's high vibration or low vibration, we all have a mixture of both. And so that's why we resonate with certain people and we
Right.
gravitate towards certain people. So that soul group, yes.
Right. And science is that's another exciting thing about living in this time, because science is just now finally being able to sort of explain these things and sort of venturing into this spiritual stuff. But quantum physics and all that quantum science, I don't understand it personally, but I know that they're literally just now trying to understand what matter actually is. And they're just now realizing that it's what you said earlier. Matter is energy. It's not these physical material things that we touch and we feel and we see. They're not actually physical, real things. It's energy, and it's just vibrating at its own frequency. And it's exactly what you were just saying. It's crazy. But the crazy part is that science is finally starting to be able to explain it and proving us right, basically. So it's a very exciting time to be alive. Melanie, like I said, we're going to have you on for another episode, because I definitely want to get into the Anubis thing. I don't know much about Anubis personally. I know many out there probably don't know much about him. Akhenaten, all this stuff, all these past lives. I mean, this conversation was just so fascinating. I didn't really touch on almost anything that I wanted to touch on. So we'll definitely have to have you on again. This was a great conversation. You're wonderful to talk to. And just before we get off the episode, is there anything, I know you wanted to talk about your book. You already kind of mentioned the event in Tahoe and then the other one in LA, but if you want to just say it again, so anyone who's interested, they can ask you or they can ask me. Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, so the next Conversations with Akhenaten event is going to be August 26th, 2023. It's going to be on a Saturday, 3 p.m. Pacific in Lake Tahoe, California. And it is limited to 12 in-person spots only.
Oh, okay.
And if you want a Zoom live stream, that's also available. There are tickets for both. You can find my website at www.quantumdisclosureproject.com. And you can find my other website, www.starseedsanctuaryinternational.com. You can find services, events, podcasts, other interviews, all other events, tickets, contact, everything on there. My book is called Quantum Disclosure Project, Revelations 1, The Beginning. That means there's going to be Revelations 2 and 3 and 4 and etc. Okay. The beginning is really about clients that have come to me over the last 5 years since I've stepped into this role as a hypnotherapist. These are people that have come to me and that have gone back to different ancient, hidden, sacred times. And so it could be biblical, it could be the Big Bang, it could be with dinosaurs, the beginning of Jesus, Nephilim, extraterrestrials. There's many topics, including predictions of the future, possible timelines. Awesome. That book got #1 in education and research on Amazon. So you can find that on Amazon through paperback, hardback, and ebook. And I'm working on the second, Revelations 2, Evolutions. It's going to be the evolutions of things. Okay. And I'm also working on Conversations with Akhenaten book and the Conversations with Anubis book. So there's things in the background that are being put to use, but those are the 3 main ones. But there are many other things I'm working on, such as little documentary short films. Because if you follow and subscribe on the YouTube channel, which is at Quantum Disclosure Project, you'll find new videos that I'm going to be releasing. They're going to be audio clips and like film versions of past life regressions I've done.
Okay.
I'm going to be releasing one where the gentleman was an advisor in Amara, Egypt. And he was the advisor of Akhenaten. And in that session, it's kind of cool because he talks about Anubis and being friends with Anubis and what him and Anubis used to do and as friends. And so it's really neat to see and explore different bits of information as it comes through.
And that was a really cool story that you told me because, and correct me if I'm getting some of this wrong, but you were holding an event and you were using your friend as a conduit to speak to Akhenaten. And this man was just in the audience. Like, you never met him before. You didn't know him in this lifetime, but he actually posed the question to you, asking you about how Akhenaten was murdered. And he wound up introducing himself as the priest, right, in that lifetime. So he was just drawn to your event. You guys didn't know each other, but he was someone that you were able to recognize from that lifetime, correct?
Yeah, so there's actually Akhenaten had different priests, and so separately a different priest. Back in February, we had the Conversations with Akhenaten event at the Conscious Life Expo in LA. And that was very, very powerful, even for me, because I didn't know what to expect. And those types of things I don't pre-plan for. There's no pre-topic, there's no pre-questions. It's just whatever happens.
Information comes.
And so during that session, I had opened the audience for any questions they wanted to ask. So they were bringing me their questions on paper as they would write them. And I was the one doing the asking. So I was asking Akhenaten these questions, and then he would answer those to the audience. Well, I had come across this piece of paper that I couldn't really read the handwriting. It looked almost like it was written nervously, or I don't know if they just didn't have like a surface to write on, or maybe they wrote it quickly. But it took me a moment to figure out what it said. And once I figured that out, part of me felt, I can't ask this question. This person has to ask this question. So I asked who wrote the question, and I called them forward. And the question that they had asked Akhenaten, well, it was just very plain and simple. It was, who was your killer? And so me, being the person that read the paper, and the only other person that read the paper, I was kind of taken back and confused because he didn't say everything that was on the paper. He just shortened it to, who was your killer? And so I was very curious to see what would happen. And Akhenaten had spoken and had said, you were one of my advisors in Egypt, and you were blamed for my murder, and you did not kill me. And
oh wow, so he was actually able to answer as Akhenaten and reassure this man that, oh wow, okay.
Yes. Yeah, so that's what we do during these live events. The subject, I will regress them live in front of the audience, and they are able to communicate and speak with Akhenaten right then and there in real time. So in this space, that man got very emotional, and even I was taken back because on that paper it said, I was your advisor in Egypt, and I was blamed for your death, and who was your killer? And so it was a confirmation for me and that man at the same time. And by the end of the event, there were people there that had received instantaneous healing from Akhenaten directly. And by that, I mean, Akhenaten had done an energetic scan of the room. And from there, he was able to figure out, who has a major headache.
Ailments.
One by one, who has a major headache, and then healed this lady's headache. The next thing was, who has foot problems? 3 three women with foot problems came up one by one, and Akhenaten was able to hold their hand, speak Egyptian language to them, tell
Wow.
them what's going on with their foot, when it happened, why it happened, and that why they need to let it go, and they're healed by the time they go back to their seat. And so at the very end of that event, people were hugging, crying, embracing each other, and it's a magical event that it's not. I don't think you're going to see anywhere else. So
Yeah.
if you can make it, try to be there, because you'll be able to ask Akhenaten questions yourself, and you'll be
Right.
able to, if you need any healing, like if he picks up on something, then it's appropriate to heal it and give it attention at that time.
Well, I would love to be there. My only issue is timing. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to swing the dates. But like I said, if I can't make it in person, I'm for sure going to be there on the live stream observing, and then I'm definitely going to try to make it to your next event. So everyone listening, look up this event. You can contact Melanie directly on her Instagram. You have a Facebook, correct?
Yes, I do. It's
So
just my first and last name on Facebook. Mhm.
okay, Melanie Aguirre, that's Aguirre. And then again, her YouTube channel, Quantum Disclosure Project and Starseed Solutions, for anyone who just wants to check that out. Try to make it to the event. It sounds like it's going to be amazing. Hopefully y'all be there and you'll see me there. And I had one more thing I wanted to say, but I guess we covered, your book, the event. So yeah, Melanie, it was so great to have you on. There's just one last thing, just a short little
Sure.
thing before I let you go. So we were talking about your name before we started the call. Can you just tell everyone what your name means and how you got that name?
Sure. So my name, Melanie Aguirre, is my birth name. It's my dad named me, and Spanish descent, Aguirre, and it means open space. And the first name, Melanie, Melan, we know means dark or darkness. So, and together my name means dark open space. And ever since I was young, I've just been drawn to darkness, like paranormal, horror movies,
Right.
different
The
stories, and
universe.
just so, yeah,
It
very
sounds like
open
it
to
was
all of
meant
that.
to be. It's
Yeah,
such a
and it's
great name for
very
you.
fitting. It's very suiting,
Yeah.
especially with the connection with Anubis. It just kind of.
That's true too. Oh my gosh. So why? So it means dark open space. Okay.
Yeah. Very cool.
I hope we can have you on again soon. Or, even after the event in Tahoe. And Melanie, thank you so much. This was such an amazing conversation. I know everyone's going to love you. And I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. And if there's nothing else, if there's anything you want to add, you can. And otherwise, we'll see you next time.
I guess I could ask, or not ask, but I guess I can leave a last message. I guess just for anybody that's curious to learning more about other lives and times, if they are looking for a QHHT practitioner, I do these sessions in person, and so you are welcome to come visit me in New Mexico. I do have an office. If you are unable to travel, I also offer online remote hypnosis regressions. I do other forms of hypnosis, but I can offer online. And if you need any other services, I'm available. But if you also really want to try QHHT and you can't make it to me, you can always go to qhhtofficial.com and you can find a practitioner in your area. And that way, you have a good option for other practitioners that might be closer. Some practitioners are offering free intern sessions, practice sessions, as they grow and expand their practice and their skills. So some people will give away free sessions. So if you're able to, even just to kind of dip your toes into the water and figure out what is hypnosis, you can do that, or I even also offer introduction to hypnosis online as well. So if you need any of that, I'm available. And I can also assist with psychic abilities, workshops, and mentorship. And so you'll find more of my services on my website at starseedsanctuaryinternational.com.
So that was starseedsanctuaryinternational.com?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and if you want to learn more about the Quantum Disclosure Project, or to be, to donate or to be a volunteer, which, I'm also open to, if anybody wants to be a volunteer for the project, to do any multi-dimensional diving research, I'm also open to that. And that is just at quantumdisclosureproject.com.
Perfect. You are going to be hearing from me soon, Melanie. I am definitely going to take you up on that and hopefully see you soon for my own session.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So yeah, everybody check Melanie out. starseedsolutionsinternational.com. Did I get that right? And
yes.
Quantum Disclosure Project. All right. Melanie, thank you so much. You were great. This was
You're
amazing.
Welcome. Thank you.
Yep. And we'll have you on again, and we'll talk to you next time. So.
Yes, I look forward to it. Thank you.
Me too. Thank you so much. Okay.
I am Buzz Aldrin, and I was the lunar partial pilot on Apollo 11.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth. No single space project in this period will be more impressive to mankind or more important for the long-range exploration of space, and none will be so difficult or expensive to accomplish.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
The truth is that we've never proved one, but there are things flying around up there that we haven't fully identified yet. And keep in mind, there are basically 1 billion galaxies in an ever-expanding universe. I mean, you can't even get your mind around the sheer number of things that are out there.
People still take seriously trying to investigate and figure out what that is. There's footage and records of objects in the skies that we don't know exactly what they are. We can't explain how they moved, their trajectory. They did not have an easily explainable pattern. When it comes to aliens, there's some things I just can't tell you.